Okay, so one thing that I think our rocket needs is an antenna. The antenna will provide us a lot of opportunity to do overlap and secondary action, as well as just really kind of driving the home that this is a spacecraft with beings on board. So to make the antenna, I'm going to start by making a cylinder, and I want it to ultimately I want it to kind of follow the shape of the body here, but we're going to get there in a process and kind of build this for animation. We'll do I guess you could technically call this rigging. So I'm going to see, I'm right now in modeling toolkit. I'm going to make sure I'm in the channel box. I'm going to select polycylinder, and I'm going to give it a height of like 3. Much smaller radius, like 0.2. Oh boy, even less, even smaller than that. 0.1. Yeah, wow, maybe even smaller than that. 0.05. I already got a decimal in there. All right. I want it to be a little bit longer, so 4.5. Yeah, that'll work. All right, so this is the side that's going to plug into the rocket, and this is the side that's going to be the receiver. So, you know what else we need? We need, since this is going to animate like it's flowing and blowing in the atmosphere that doesn't exist in space, but it's animation, so we're going to do that anyway. We need more subdivisions along the height, so there's enough geometry to support the cylinder deforming. So I'm going to select the subdivisions and start adding them. The more subdivisions you add, the smoother the deformation, but also the heavier the model. You wouldn't do this for a game model, but this isn't a game. This is a Learning Maya project. So let's go ahead and just add 50 subdivisions to that. All right, so I also want to put some spheres here to kind of be little spheres, or maybe cylinders will work better. Let's see. Kind of line that up in the center and really scale that down. Smash it. Press W, move it up. F. So I'm not sure which I'm going to do here, cylinder or sphere. Huh, let's see. Tell you what, I'm going to do big cylinder here. I'm going to do 3 total. So I'm going to do a big one here, then a small one, and a smaller one. So let's see if we can do that with duplicate special. Edit. Duplicate special. All right, I'm going to turn them into copies. I want them to go down by, we'll say, 0.02 on the Y. No rotations. And I want them to scale down by we'll say 25%, so 20.25 minus 1 is 0.75, so we'll do 0.75 on all 3 of these axes. If you guys have questions about how I calculate things on the matrix, just ask me. I'm more than happy to try to explain it. And let's see here, does that work? It kind of did, but it went in the wrong direction. You see how they all got proportionally smaller. So I'm going to undo that. Edit, duplicate special. And we want them going in the other direction, so I'm going to hit minus in front of that. And I want them going a lot further, so I'm going to say 0.06. And 2 copies. Apply. No. Let's try... Not big enough for that, so not 12 copies is too many. 5 copies. Just cutting it. Let's do 4 copies. Okay. Now we got to make sure they go down quite a bit more. Let's do it by 0.1. Okay, that's better. I really wish this was interactive so you could actually see how far. So 0.1 was too far. Only by a little bit. So let's do 0.08. What? So, whoops. Alright, was it 1 that I did it? Oh yeah, so sorry, I got lost in my thought here. If you look at my time on my computer, it's quite late for me. Okay, so 1 is way too much. 0.8. Nope. I mean, I probably could have done this by hand by now, but this is a good little learning exercise. So 0.5. No, still too much. No, we already did 0.1, 0.2. All right, 0.2 it is. Or rather, it will be. All right, so that's the transform I'm going to have the antenna do. But first, I'm going to bevel these edges. So first, got to select the face, marquee select the top, marquee deselect the bottom. Actually, wait, we want these guys too. So marquee select the whole thing, and then marquee while holding control, deselect that. Press R to scale, shift, pull that in, and then, well, let's make it a little fancy. Gonna pull it in again, and then scaling it down in Y like that will make a little ring. Go to face, select the neighbor, double click, holding shift, extrude, pull it in like that. Still holding extrude, pull the little center box, and out like that. And now to bevel all that. Select an edge, select its neighbor, go to the modeling toolkit, and hit bevel. That's fine. Edge, select the neighbor, and then do the bottom one here. Again, bevel. Last one. I guess I could have looped this one in with the first one. Bevel. Alright, that's fancy looking. Now I left the duplicate special open, remember. Now I just hit apply. It goes all the way down. And why don't I just go ahead and taper this antenna too? So selecting vertex, select the bottom row, press B, and we're not going to do this with a deformer. We're just going to do this by eye, and then pressing B, and I'm holding B down, and I'm holding the left mouse button down, and I'm dragging to the right. Now I press R, and I just kind of pull in from the little yellow box there, and we get a taper on that antenna. Let's put a little sphere on the top there. So I went ahead and hit the sphere button. This is probably technically the most detailed part of the model. Which is okay, maybe we'll talk about that here in a second. Okay, that's looking a little too big. Press R, scale it in some more. Okay, too much space there, so I'm going to select all those guys with the marquee. Just drag it in. Still think that's just a tiny bit too big. So go ahead and just make your antenna look, you know, make the proportions look pleasing to you. Alright, so that's the antenna. These guys here, need to soften those normals. So mesh display, soften edge. There we go. Alright, marquee select all of that. Mesh, combine, they're one object. We got all that stuff left behind, remember, in our outliner. Edit, delete by type, history. Now let's go to vertex. Okay, press B to get out of that soft select mode. Select this. So press D to go into pivot mode and then select that vertex there. I'm sorry, press D there. Yeah, so select that vertex, press D, then press D again, and our pivot point is now... No! Okay, press D. Alright, now we're in pivot. And it says... Okay, so you're going to have to just kind of read with that. It says position, right? So yeah, left click that center vertex. And there you go. Press D to get out of pivot mode, and we have the pivot for the antenna at the end. Alright, cool. Now we need a base to align the antenna and stick it into the rocket. Don't worry, the base will be a little less involved. Another cylinder. Gonna just move it up here. Let's just go ahead and scale this down to size. Move it, scale it, make sure it's really thin. Rotate it so that it matches the curvature of the fuselage. I guess that's what it's called. Not the body, it's the fuselage. I'm glad I finally remembered that. What? No. This is why I hate Windows. I'm busy and it like wants to do things to my computer. All right. Go ahead. See, it's not quite lined up. Try and make that lined up as much as you can. I've got a little bit of overlap there with the edges on the fuselage, so I can solve that by either shrinking the antenna base or moving it further down. That's too far down, so I'm going, or for my liking, it's up to you on how far down you want that to be. All right, there we go. It's not gonna fit that perfectly. I mean, we could make it do that, but that's more involved modeling than is really necessary for this project. Okay, so same deal that we did with the porthole and the antenna discs and all that other stuff. Is we want to make this inset so that it looks like the antenna can fit in there. I'm gonna select the faces. Marquee select, marquee deselect. Oop, press 4 for that. So that is a lot smaller than I was thinking. Press R to go back to scale mode. Remember, we hold shift over any of the transformation tools. We can pull things in. Do 1, 2, and then go to press W. I'm gonna go back to 6 so I can see what I'm doing a little better. Holding shift, and I'm gonna pull the yellow side in. Oops, too far. Don't have to go far. Actually, you know what? That's looking like another porthole, so I'm gonna undo it. And I'm going to rotate this antenna. Go back to the channel box up for here. And I'm going to rotate it, what? 90 degrees on X. All right, so that's where my antenna is. So I'm gonna do face again. Oh, look, it saved my face selection. Thank you. If it didn't save yours, you'll have to rewind the video, or you should know how to make that kind of face selection by now. I'm gonna hold shift and scale this all the way in. All right, no, I'm gonna leave one out there, support edge, in case I need it later. And that's good enough. You don't want it to match right up. You want it to look like it can go in there. I'm gonna press W, and then holding shift, push in. Just a little bit. Go back to edge, select one edge, holding shift, double click the others, back to the modeling toolkit, and click bevel. Let's give that some more segments. There we go. This edge, outer edge here needs a bevel too, so select one edge, select its neighbor, shift, double click, click bevel. And I like that, so I'm going to leave it. Maybe pull it out just a little bit more. Oh, then it separates from there. And I'm going to have to either not, yeah, I'm just not going to care about that. That's such a minor imperfection. I'm not really worried about it. All right. Just go ahead and nudge the antenna in there. And now I'm going to put a deformer on the antenna. So I've got the antenna selected. And let's see here. I'll go back to my channel box. I can close this duplicate special now. I don't need that. Select deform, nonlinear, bend. Okay, I'm going to press 4 and look at that. It lined it up right with my antenna. That's nice. If I select the curvature, the middle mouse drag in the viewport, okay. That's not really the direction I envisioned my antenna bending or where I want it to bend from. So I'm going to leave it bent like this, and I'm going to work with the deformer while it's bent. So if I select the deformer, and I'm looking at this this gizmo here, this gnomon, green is up, red is X, and yellow in this case is actually going to be Z. So I want the antenna to be rotated down 90 degrees, which is Z. So I'm going to go to rotate Z, type 90, and it flips it up like that, which is fine. I mean, I could do that, or I could do negative 90, it doesn't matter. As long as it's bending along the axis the way you want it to, it's okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to take this gnomon and put it right here where the antenna goes. Just like that. Go back to shaded mode 6. Maybe, yeah, just like that. Maybe lift the antenna up a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to play with this bend a little bit and just see what I think about how it's moving. Okay. So the portion of the antenna that's closest to the body is highly flexible, whereas it hits this midpoint here and it just kind of loses all its flexibility. That's called the bound of the antenna. So there's a high bound and a low bound. I'm going to go back to wireframe for this demonstration. I'm going to start with the low bound. So if I start creeping the low bound out, you see how the antenna bends more? So by taking it out to 2 and now running the curvature, the antenna kind of bends equally. I'm going to take the high bound down to 0 because it was bleeding over a little bit. Here, I'll show you what I was talking about. So the base of the antenna was moving a lot when I go back and forth. So it's not staying registered in with the hole, right, where the antenna goes, right? It's not staying together. If I take the high bound, go back to wireframe, press 4. If I take the high bound down, right, you see that's where the antenna's base is for all the movement. Oh, pull that down a little bit more, lining them up. And if you guys need help on this part, if this doesn't work quite how you thought it would, call me over. Come get me. And as I bend it back and forth, look at that. There we go. It's kind of extreme, but that will be good for some secondary animation. I'm going to go ahead and just... yeah, it's a very exaggerated antenna, but, that's all right. Yeah, that may be a bit long, but whatever. we're going to work with it.